You could feel it before the final buzzer even hit in Phoenix. The West just shifted, and now all eyes are locked on one thing: Warriors versus Clippers, with everything on the line. The Suns had their shot, a real one, but Portland walked into that building and flipped the script. Denny Avdija played like a man who refused to go home. 41 points, clutch moments, and that late three-point play that changed everything. Phoenix tried to answer. Draymond Green pushed hard. Booker stayed aggressive even in foul trouble, but that last sequence told the story. One missed three, one lost possession, and suddenly the season feels a lot heavier. Now here's where it gets interesting for Golden State. While the Suns regroup and wait, the Warriors made a quiet but telling decision behind the scenes. No last-minute shakeups, no panic moves. They're rolling forward with Charles Bassey locked into that final roster spot. And if you've been watching closely, you know that's not random. In just a few games, he showed flashes. Real presence inside, rebounds that matter, defensive plays that don't show up fully on the stat sheet but shift momentum. This wasn't about headlines. This was about trust. At the same time, the bigger picture is clear. This game plan, whether people want to admit it or not, still runs through Stephen Curry, and teams know it. Tyronn Lue already said it without saying too much. He's tired of seeing Steph in these moments, because even when Curry doesn't explode for 50, the attention he pulls, the shots he takes, the pressure he creates, it bends the entire defense. 9 three-point attempts in the last game? That's exactly what opponents are trying to cut down, but easier said than done. And that's where this matchup starts to feel different. The Clippers aren't just preparing for a team, they're preparing for a system built around movement, spacing, and one player who can flip a game in a 2-minute stretch. Meanwhile, Golden State is looking at this as more than just a play-in. There's a sense inside that locker room that if they get through this, things could open up fast, especially with questions around size, health, and depth across potential matchups down the line. Right always with Curry if you believe he can still lead the Warriors to another great season. There's also something else worth paying attention to, and it's not getting enough talk yet. The Warriors choosing size with Bassey over converting those two-way contracts says they're already thinking beyond just one game. Against a team like OKC or even deeper into the bracket, having an extra body inside might not be optional. It might be necessary. And even if Bassey doesn't play heavy minutes against the Clippers, situations change fast in the postseason. Foul trouble, injuries, matchups. That's where decisions like this start paying off. On the other side, the Clippers are coming in with a very clear defensive focus. Limit Curry's looks, force the ball out of his hands, make someone else beat you. It sounds simple, but teams have been trying that for years. The difference now is whether Golden State's supporting cast can respond consistently enough to punish that strategy. Because if they do, this becomes a completely different game. And here's the part that not everyone is saying out loud yet. Inside the Warriors, there's belief. Not loud, not flashy, but steady. The kind that comes from players who've been here before, who understand what these moments demand. This isn't about proving something to the league anymore. It's about extending something that people outside already started writing off. Comment, "The dynasty is not over," if you think the Warriors still have more to show. Stay locked in, because what's coming next around this matchup and what's being said behind closed doors might change how you see this game completely. There's a layer to this that doesn't show up in highlights, and it's the way Golden State has been tightening things quietly. Rotations getting shorter, decisions getting sharper, and roles becoming very clear right before the biggest game of their season. You can tell this isn't improvisation anymore. It's preparation meeting urgency. The staff knows exactly what they want, and more importantly, who they trust when the game slows down and every possession starts to feel heavy. What stands out is how much attention is already shifting toward how this team responds under pressure. Not just Curry, but the group around him. Because if the Clippers succeed in forcing the ball out of his hands, those secondary actions will decide everything. Shot selection, timing, spacing, the little details that separate a win from going home. And inside the building, there's confidence that those details are finally starting to align at the right time. There's also respect coming from the other side, even if it sounds like frustration. When a coach like Tyronn Lue openly talks about limiting Curry's attempts, it's not just strategy, it's recognition. They understand one stretch, one moment, and things can get out of control fast. And that awareness tends to change how aggressively defenses rotate, how early they trap, how much energy they spend chasing him around screens. Right? Never count out the Warriors if you know this team always finds a way to compete. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Golden State isn't walking into this game thinking short-term. There's already an eye on what comes next if they get through. The Thunder are waiting, a younger, faster team, and that's exactly why decisions like keeping Bassi matter more than they seem. It's not about one matchup, it's about surviving multiple ones in a row. And quietly, there's another factor building in the background: experience. Not the kind that shows up in numbers, but the kind that shows up late in games when things get tight and the crowd gets loud. That's where the Warriors still feel different compared to a lot of teams fighting in this range. They've seen this before, they've lived it, and that memory doesn't disappear. Now, if you've been following this channel, you already know we don't just talk surface level here. We break down what's really going on behind these decisions, the kind of details most people miss while watching the game. And the next update coming might be one of the most important yet, because there are signals about adjustments Golden State could make mid-game that haven't even been discussed publicly. If you want to stay ahead of everything that's about to unfold, this is the moment to lock in. Subscribe now, because once this game tips off, things will move fast, and you don't want to miss what's coming right after. Comment, Curry is still special if you believe he remains one of the most unique players in basketball. And just wait, because there's something developing around this matchup that could shift expectations completely before the final whistle even blows. If you're part of Warriors Nation and you want to follow every chapter of this team's journey, subscribe now. There's a sense that this game won't follow a clean script. Rotations could change earlier than expected, especially if the pace gets out of control. One thing to watch closely is how Golden State handles those first few minutes, whether they stay patient or try to force rhythm too quickly. That opening stretch might quietly set the tone for everything that follows, because against a team like the Clippers, chasing the game is not where you want to be. Another detail that's been building behind the scenes is how much responsibility could shift depending on matchups. If the Clippers stay locked on Curry, it opens very specific windows for others, but only if those reads are made at the right second. Not late, not rushed. That's where experience shows up again, not in big speeches, but in small decisions that don't break under pressure. And there's something about this Warriors group right now that feels more focused than people expected. Not louder, not trying to prove anything externally, just locked in on the opportunity sitting right in front of them. It's a different kind of energy, the kind that doesn't always get picked up unless you're paying close attention to how they're moving, how they're communicating, how they're closing possessions. Write Warriors pride if you have supported this team through every era. From the Clippers' side, the plan will be physical, disciplined, and consistent. They won't rely on one adjustment. They'll layer it. Different looks, different coverages, trying to make every touch uncomfortable. But the risk in that approach is always the same. Overcommit for just a moment and the Warriors can make you pay faster than most teams in the league. And here's something not many are talking about yet. If Golden State finds early confidence from beyond the arc, it could force the Clippers to rethink their entire defensive approach before halftime. That's when things start opening up inside, and suddenly those decisions about size and depth begin to matter more than expected. If you've been watching closely, you already know this isn't just about one result. It's about what it could unlock. And right here is where most people fall behind, because they wait until after the game to understand what actually happened. This channel stays ahead of that. So if you want every layer, every adjustment, every behind-the-scenes detail as it unfolds, now is the time to subscribe. Once this game ends, the next breakdown will go deeper than anything you've seen. Comment, "The Bay still believes," if you trust that Golden State can rise again. Because the truth is, there's still one key element around this matchup that hasn't fully surfaced yet. And when it does, it might completely change how this game is remembered. If you're a real Warriors fan and want to stay updated on everything happening with this team, subscribe now because things could get interesting very soon. And that final piece might come down to something simple but hard to control. The moment when the game slows, the crowd tightens, and one possession carries more weight than the last 5 combined. That's usually where teams hesitate, and where Golden State has built its identity over the years. If it gets there, it won't be about systems anymore. It'll be about who stays steady, right with Steph until the end. If you believe that as long as Curry is on the court, anything is possible. If you want real insight, not just reactions after the fact, stay here. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the next video will break down exactly what shifted during this game. and why it matters more than the final score.